With the transfer window having slammed shut a week ago, you'd have thought the rumour mill would have gone quiet, at least for a short while. But reports today suggest that Tottenham may well be looking to not only get deals done early before the January window, but also potentially attempt to make the most of the free transfer market, where more players could come into the club right now. Meanwhile, one of the worst signings in Premier League history may be leaving Manchester United, and the Ballondor nominees have been announced. All this and more on today's episode of Daily Premier League News. Not transfer news, but there is lots of transfer news to talk about as well. But with me, Barnaby Slater, guys, thank you so much for watching and for listening. Please do press that like button and subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Would really love to have you watching my daily content. And also, please do go over to the podcast platforms, the audio podcast platforms, that is, to listen there. If you want to listen while you're running or driving or whatever, just go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever and type in the Spurred On podcast. Give me a follow or a subscribe there. But let's get on with it now, and starting, of course, with my beloved Tottenham Hotspur. And we are reportedly keeping a close watch on former Manchester United midfielder Angel Gomez, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Do you want to pronounce it in a lovely foreign-y way, or do you want to pronounce it in the English way? I'm going to go Angel Gomez, who's nearing the end of his contract at Lille. Now, what makes this a potentially far more exciting signing is that Angel Gomez has just been brought into the England squad, the full England international squad, for the first time under their new manager, Lee Carsley, who of course is the interim manager after Gareth Southgate has left. Gomez, as I said, in the final year with the French club, he's become a notable target for Spurs as they look to strengthen their midfield options. Well, we do know, obviously, that we were looking earlier in the window at Conor Gallagher and a few other midfield options, none of which came to fruition. So getting Gomez in early January and trying to get that deal done early now does seem to be a potential option. Gomez has been turning heads since he joined Lille back in 2020. His performances in Ligue 1 have earned him significant praise, and he's emerged as one of the standout midfielders in the league over the past year. And like I said, his impressive form has led to Lee Carsley bringing him into the full English squad. And in fact, any of you who watched the England under-21s win the tournament last summer will have known that Gomez, who's traditionally known as a winger, actually played in that defensive midfield role for England. It'd be interesting to see whether Carsley picks him there in the England versus Ireland Nations League opener on Saturday at 5 p.m, for which I will be doing a live watch along on this channel. So do come and watch that and get in the comments, and we'll have some chats during that game. Let's see if that is a move that Spurs try to get done early. Of course, with players' contracts running out at the end of the season, they can sign pre-contract agreements with foreign clubs from January onwards. Okay, moving on. Manchester United and Spurs are apparently among numerous Premier League clubs in the race to sign Turkey international Yusuf Yaziki. The Premier League rivals have been offered the chance to sign Yaziki, could well be pronounced Yazici, let me know in the comments, who's currently a free agent after his Lille deal expired in July. So another Lille player, and he is on the free transfer market. He made 42 appearances for Lille last season in all competitions, scoring 12 goals and providing 4 assists. The Turkish international midfielder has proven himself to be a goal threat throughout his career, scoring 64 times in 267 appearances. So once again, Spurs looking at those midfield options. What can we do to bring in support for the likes of Bentancur, Bissouma, Bergvall and Archie Gray? Looks like we're looking for one other, having sold, of course, Oliver Skipp and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg this summer. I don't know, let me know in the comments. Do potential rumours like this, do they fill you with hope or trepidation, or maybe neither? I don't know. It seems like maybe the rumour mill is trying to go in overdrive because there's not a lot of clicks being taken everywhere now that the window is shut. It doesn't seem likely to me necessarily that Spurs will bring in free transfers. Obviously, Mats Hummels was an option. Spurs did apparently talk to Mats Hummels back earlier in June and July, talked to his agents about potentially him coming in, but he signed for Roma yesterday on a free transfer as a free agent. And I don't know, it seems unlikely that Spurs will get anyone on a free unless they can guarantee that they will hit the ground running when coming into the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Meanwhile, some more news from within our squad. Striker Richarlison has just changed his agent, which these days is a big story. People who love transfer rumours, they also love the rumours of which agents players are joining, and he has signed with CAA Base, which is Jonathan Barnett's company. Jonathan Barnett, who originally was the agent of Gareth Bale, of course, and Tottenham and Daniel Levy are known to have very close ties with CAA Base. The move was confirmed via an Instagram post from CAA Base yesterday. Now, what does that tell me? It tells me that Richarlison, who obviously came out just a couple of weeks ago and said, I will not be moving to Saudi Arabia. I'm not going to chase the money. I got a huge offer in terms of financials, but I want to play in the Premier League. And having listened to a number of the Spurs podcasts that I love this week, I have to say, a lot of people have been saying, and I've not really covered this much, that actually I think Richarlison refusing to move to Saudi Arabia this summer may have put a little bit of the kibosh on some of Tottenham's transfer aspirations. I think it's possible, very possible in fact, that 60 million odd pounds or 50 to 60 million odd pounds that maybe they thought they'd get for Richarlison this summer was probably the money that they were looking to spend on Eberechi Eze, who's someone I'll go on to talk about in a second. And as a result, that kind of killer, ready for the Premier League straight away because of their experience and having scored many goals in the Premier League and made many assists player that we've needed, that we kind of, in the first 3 games, really looks like we've been missing. We haven't been able to get through the door because Richarlison stayed. Now, there could be a positive to this, of course. We now have 2 really experienced, really good Premier League number 9s in our squad, and that should mean that when we have an injury or a suspension that we're able to cover it in that position. It's just bad luck that when we went to St James's Park, neither Solanke nor Richarlison were available, and I do think, and I know a lot of you in the comments have been saying you shouldn't think like this, but I do think had we had one of those players up front on Sunday, we would have won or drawn that game. Let me know in the comments below what you think it means that Richarlison has changed his agent. Does it mean that he is touting around looking for another Premier League club, and maybe he thinks his best chance of getting that is to be with a better agent? He didn't want to go to Saudi, but he did specifically say, I still want to play in the Premier League. That doesn't necessarily mean at Tottenham Hotspur, of course. Just a little stat here that I saw. Spurs are averaging the highest possession percentage in Europe's top 5 leagues so far this season from the first 3 game weeks. That's with 69.2% possession. Now, look, obviously we've only won 1, drawn 1, lost 1, so it's not been a great start. However, in terms of wanting to play the Tottenham way, in terms of wanting to play Ange's way and control games and be the positive team in games, a near 70% possession stat is really good news and a really good start. And as with all of the stuff we've been talking about this week, if we can just make better decisions in that final third in terms of the final ball and in terms of the finishing, then I'm confident that that 70% possession will mean lots and lots of points this season. We've got a difficult next game, home to Arsenal. Does it get any more difficult? Probably one of the 2 or 3 hardest fixtures of the season, especially in the way they set up against us at the moment under Mikel Arteta, where they will do a similar thing to Newcastle. I think they'll let Spurs have possession of the ball most of the time, sit on the edge of their box, get men narrow, get men behind the ball, and try and hit us on the break. But after that game, and I do still think we can win that game if we just get the crowd behind us and maybe get an early goal or 2, then we could turn Arsenal over. But after that game, we've got an interesting run of fixtures up to kind of November or so, where I think we could get a lot of points. We just got to believe in the manager, believe in the team, and back them, especially at the stadium, starting with that Arsenal game. I mentioned Eberechi Eze a little bit earlier on. His expired release clause, which was worth £68 million, of which, of course, as we heard throughout the summer, a lot of that money, if you wanted to buy Eze, had to be paid up front. And that's why I said I think Spurs really were pushing for Richarlison to get that Saudi move, because that money would have come a lot up front as well. But that release clause of Eze's will reactivate next summer, and Palace may be willing to negotiate terms of the buyout to facilitate Eze's ambitions. That's according to Sami Mokbel. Now, you will have seen Steve Parish, the Palace chairman, came out the other day and said he was ecstatic for Michael Olise that he got his move to Bayern Munich, and that he wanted players like Mark Guehi to get big moves to big clubs because it shows that Palace are a great breeding ground for young talent. And that's what's the situation as well with Eze, I think. If Steve Parish and Palace get the number that they're looking for, they will let the player go because they want to be seen as that breeding ground. That's the kind of club they are. And I think that's fair enough, but Tottenham just didn't get anywhere near, if they even made a proper bid for Eze this summer. Probably not, because of that Richarlison stuff. And it'll be up to us to raise some funds to try and go for him again in January or next summer. Another little bit of news, Alejo Veliz, who you will have seen at the weekend crying after he scored the winner for Espanyol in their, it was a late winner as well, in their 2-1 victory. He has been nominated for the Under-23 Player of the Month in La Liga. Will he cry again having been nominated? Who knows? But that is good news for Spurs. He's getting minutes at Espanyol. We did invest kind of £9-10 million in this player. He went to Sevilla last year, didn't get any minutes. Now he is getting minutes in La Liga, and if he can score a good few goals, he can come back to Spurs next summer with confidence and really challenge Solanke for that number 9 spot. He's got some similar physical attributes, doesn't he? He's a big guy, likes to hold it up, loves to get in a scrap, seems to get injured every single time he plays, Veliz. And that should suit the Premier League, let's face it, it really should. So, yeah, well done to Alejo Veliz for getting nominated for the Under-23 Player of the Month in La Liga. Meanwhile, just some reports that I read that I thought worth bringing to you about the PSR changes. A lot of this I've looked into off the back of that Leicester decision, that Leicester are not going to be deducted any points this season, because what they actually did, kind of cleverly and in like a trick of accountancy, is they moved their year-end accountancy date by a month, and therefore they appealed to an independent commission that actually the Premier League therefore could not do them for overspending on PSR. You know, with the PSR, you're only allowed to lose £105 million over a 3-year period. Well, because Leicester moved the end of that accountancy period, even though they'd spent £124 million, it didn't count for that 3-year period. As a result of that, and how worried I am about how Manchester City may try and use these kind of things to move the goalposts, I've looked into the principles of the new PSR system that is going to come in. Apparently, Tottenham are likely to thrive when the Premier League moves to what's called a squad cost ratio system from next season. This mirrors the principles of UEFA's PSR system, and the Premier League are expected to limit clubs' spending on wages, transfers and agent fees to 85% of revenue. Spurs' revenue last term was £550 million, giving them a potential PSR budget of £467.5 million. For context, Spurs' expense last season, including wages and amortisation, was £282 million, which would give them wriggle room more than almost any other club in that new profit and sustainability rules era. So potentially that could be good news for Spurs, good news certainly for Daniel Levy, who of course has spent 20 years kind of fighting for and trying to run Tottenham in a sustainable way, and fighting for the Premier League to bring in rules to make sure other clubs have to be run in a sustainable way as well. And it seems like this new PSR rule that could come in next year will work to help Spurs in that situation. However, obviously there'll be plenty of other clubs trying to fight against it. Newcastle, Manchester City, Chelsea and the like, trying to fight against rules that will stop them from spending as much money, and especially on wages compared to their revenue. So let's see what happens there. But I just wanted to bring you that because I thought it was interesting. Obviously, it's the international week this week, which can be a little bit tedious, but worth looking out for some games with Spurs players in. I'm recording this at about 10:30 on Thursday morning, but Son Heung-min plays for South Korea in a home World Cup qualifier against Palestine. That's at midday today, so keep an eye out this afternoon for that result, and I'm sure some clips and highlights will come on X and Instagram. Keep an eye out on that because Sonny usually tends to notch for South Korea. Meanwhile, tomorrow, Friday the 6th of September, Christian Romero plays a home World Cup qualifier against Chelsea. Lucas Bergvall and Dejan Kulusevski. Well, Kulusevski will be captaining Sweden away to Azerbaijan for Sweden, and Lucas Bergvall is in the squad for the first time. Ben Davies and Brennan Johnson playing for Wales at home against Turkey in the Europa in the Nations League. Radu Dragushin is away for Romania against Kosovo, 7:45 kickoff. Manos Solomon away for Israel against Belgium. Obviously, he's on loan at Leeds and got a great assist in his first game for Leeds last week. Udogi and Vicario for Italy are away against France. That'll be a big game, won't it? I might keep an eye on that one myself. Yves Bissouma, home game for Mali against Mozambique. Pape Matar, home game for Senegal against Burkina Faso. And then Archie Gray playing for the England under-21s away against Northern Ireland. And Wilson Odobert for the French under-21s at home against Slovenia. And then just another game this weekend, which is on Sunday. Another Sweden game home against Estonia in the Nations League, and that'll be, of course, Kulusevski captaining, and hopefully Lucas Bergvall getting his first minutes for Sweden internationally, and hopefully that'll get some minutes into his legs, because I'm really excited to see Bergvall play for Tottenham Hotspur as soon as possible. What a player he could be. Final bit of Spurs news. It's Tottenham's birthday today. Happy birthday, Tottenham Hotspur. Formed in 1882 on this day. 142 years old. Just want to say what a pleasure I feel it is to support this magnificent club. I know it can be frustrating being a Spurs fan at times, but I personally think being a Tottenham fan is almost like a microcosm of life. It's almost like so near but yet so far, and always having something to strive for. And I know that being a Spurs fan, because I've waited, over 35 years of being a Spurs fan so far to actually get any real success, that when it does come, and I am confident that it will come, it will feel so good. And bear in mind, this is a club that has not moved anywhere. We're basically formed under a lamppost on Tottenham High Road near where White Hart Lane was, which is exactly where the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium now is. We've never moved. We're not franchise FC. We've not moved for money. I can think of a club down the road who've moved twice out of their original places. And it means a lot. We're exactly the same place, all the same kind of families, generations of fans, and it means a lot. And so, as someone who was born in London, as I was, it means a lot to support a London club that actually stay where they are and, bring joy and sometimes tears to their fans on a very regular basis. So happy birthday, Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Before I get into some more wide-ranging Premier League news, guys, please, once again, do press that like button. Do subscribe and tell your friends and family about this channel. I'm only a few subs away now from 11,000. Let's push me up towards that 15,000 mark. And also, you can become a member. Really helps me. You can become a YouTube member or a Patreon member. All the details in the description box below. Only £1 a month. Okay, let's start at Man United. A loan move for Antony to Fenerbahce was talked about yesterday. In fact, it was discussed that that move might have been done by last night. However, Fabrizio Romano has come out today and said, and this sounds very much like he's had Antony's agent on the phone to him. He says there's no truth in the Antony to Fenerbahce talks. He's fully committed to the Man United project. No intention to leave the club this summer. Well, it sounds very much to me like Man United are trying to cut their losses on the £80 million winger who, frankly, flattered to deceive. And that feels like me giving him a compliment. I've rarely seen a player perform so poorly in the Premier League for that amount of money. The only one I can really think of, actually, Nicola Pepe. Even when I think about Tanguy and Ndombele and what a waste of money he was for Spurs, he had some incredible moments for Tottenham. You could tell that he was an unbelievably skillful, talented player, but he just did not have the motivation at Spurs. Or perhaps even the right manager to put his arm around his shoulder. I think Pochettino could have been the right manager for Ndombele, but obviously he was sacked just a couple of months after Ndombele was signed. So Antony, I think whether or not he goes to Fenerbahce, I cannot see it working for him at Manchester United. Sticking at Man United, another waster actually, their former player Anthony Martial, who's now available on a free. Flamengo in Brazil are looking at him apparently. Over to the Etihad Stadium and Manchester City, Rodri, their key player, wanted by Real Madrid. That's according to AS in Spain. And they plan to make a move for the midfielder at the end of the season to add to their Galacticos. Obviously, another player they've been looking at is Christian Romero. So they're really looking to hoover up the best players in the world at the moment. Rodri is 28. Obviously, I've mentioned a few times that I think Man City this season are going to try and be invincible and not lose any games in the Premier League this season. And worryingly, I think for the rest of the Premier League, they've won their first 3 games incredibly easily, and Rodri hasn't played in any of them. What a player he is. Be interesting to see if he gets his move to Real Madrid in the summer. Meanwhile, over to Anfield and Liverpool, Martin Zubimendi, who Liverpool were heavily trying to get this summer, he's given a quote on his decision to reject that Liverpool move. He said, "I didn't have any pressure from my close circle. My friends are clear that whatever I decide, it will be the best. There is no pressure at all," he told Marca in Spain. I think Liverpool fans were disappointed not to get Zubimendi over the line, and they've hardly made any signings, have they? They got a few over the line just towards the end there. But let's see what happens with Liverpool. They've made a good start this season, haven't they? But as I've said before, I do think it's hard to follow a legacy manager, and I think a few difficult results for Arne Slot could lead to some difficulties there, but the football they've been playing so far has been very impressive. Aston Villa, I did a big video yesterday, didn't I, about how disappointed I was that Daniel Levy fought against the price cap in Europe, and now Aston Villa released their Champions League ticket prices yesterday, and people are up in arms. And Henry Winter, I think for the Times, great journalist. He did an article, and I thought I'd just read it to you because it's incredible. Actually, it was a thread. He said, Aston Villa have to generate money for PSR signings and wages, etc., but their UEFA Champions League ticketing strategy is iniquitous. Some games are £1 a minute. A lot of clubs raise ticket prices at the moment, but this looks sheer opportunistic greed. It will alienate loyal fans who've been behind the team through thick and thin. It will affect the atmosphere. It will stop those fans pushed to the limit from spending at the concessions. Returning to Europe's elite competition should be a time of celebration for Villa fans, not worrying about the cost and whether your club actually cares for you. So much is right about Villa at the moment, manager, team, etc., but this is a huge own goal by the board. Read the room, listen to your fans. I thought that was a great message, and yeah, I think football clubs are taking the piss out of fans too much. And bear in mind, you know, it's almost, it shouldn't be, but people in London are always charged more, but this is Villa in the Midlands, and people in the Midlands are not earning as much money as people who work in London. You do get more of a London waiting wage. So for them to charge upwards of £90 a game for the Champions League is really poor form, but the reality is it's supply and demand. They know they will pack out Villa Park for those games, and that's why they're doing it. American owners, that's just the way it goes. And like I said yesterday, I know a lot of people don't like Enoch and Daniel Levy, but I do not see other chairmen and other owners that I look at and think I would rather have them. But let me know what you think about all that in the comments. Newcastle, apparently, according to the Telegraph, they ended their pursuit of Crystal Palace's England international defender Mark Gahey to show that the club would not be taken advantage of during transfer windows. So clearly, Steve Parish and Crystal Palace were asking for upwards of £70 million, and that was probably because they knew that Newcastle had the money because of Saudi Arabia. And, well, as far as I'm concerned, long may that continue. West Ham have moved a step closer to signing a new defender on a free transfer, with ex-Sheffield United player John Egan now the front runner. They're desperate for another centre-half. Also, according to Matt Law, Ivan Toney, who has moved to Saudi Arabia, clearly for the money, he apparently has not given up on his England career. Well, I'd say by making that move, Ivan Toney, I'm afraid you absolutely have given up on your England career. I wonder if what's realistic is maybe he'll go there for a year, 18 months maximum, and then try and come back to the Premier League then. But he's 29, and probably by that point, Lee Carsley or whoever replaces him as England manager won't be looking at him, I don't think. In another bit of Saudi news, Al Nassr are making a big play apparently to sign Adrian Rabiot on a free agent. 20 million euros a year contract is being set up for him. This to me is almost like some of the least surprising news of all time. Adrian Rabiot holding out for some kind of huge deal. Such a talented player, but always seems to disappoint me with everything I hear about him, and that is another one. And finally, the Ballondor nominees and nominees for Best Goalkeeper and Best Coach have all been announced, so I'll quickly go through them. The Ballondor nominees are as follows: followed Jude Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., Rodri, Dani Carvajal, Bukayo Saka, Ruben Dias, William Saliba, Fede Valverde, Cole Palmer, Lamine Yamal, Erling Haaland, Kylian Mbappe, Toni Kroos, Martin Odegaard, Emi Martinez, Granit Xhaka, Artem Dovbyk, Harry Kane, yes, Harry Kane, Mats Hummels, Hakan Çalhanoğlu, Nico Williams, Phil Foden, Florian Wirtz, Danny Olmo, he'll be up there, Declan Rice, Vitinha, Ademola Lookman, who would have said that would happen, Lautaro Martinez, Alejandro Grimaldo, and Antonio Rudiger. Obviously, that's a long list, and that will be shortened before the ceremony. The Young Player of the Year award nominees at the Ballon d'Or are as follows: Garnacho, Kubasi, Arda Güler, Karim Konate, Kobe Mainoo has got in there, João Neves from Portugal, Savinho, Matthias Tell, Lamine Yamal again, maybe he'll get both, Warren Zaire Emery. And the Goalkeeper of the Year award nominees are Diogo Costa from Portugal, Gianluigi Donnarumma, Gregor Kobel, Andre Lunin, Mike Maignan, Georgi Mamardashvili, Emi Martinez, Unai Simon, Jan Sommer, and Ronwen Williams. So let me know in the comments who you think is going to win the Ballon d'Or. Obviously, it's the first year that neither Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo have been on it for about 2 decades. Somebody new will win it. Who do you think it'll be? Let me know in the comments. Guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. Please do press that like button if you haven't already. Do subscribe to the channel and become a member. Only £1 a month. All the details in the description box below of how to do that. Thanks for watching and listening. Have a great rest of your day. Cheers.